Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I am a homeschooling mom of 3 kids and we are in our 11th year homeschooling. Today I'm going to be taking you through my reading journal setup with an Erin Condren monthly planner. I have gone back and forth as to what I wanted to use this last planner for that I have. I have wanted a reading journal for a long time. I came up with some ideas on how to use my life planner to keep track of books, but I'm thinking that it's too much in my life planner. I don't have a whole lot of space for other things when I use it for books. So I'm excited to set up this planner for keeping track of all of my reading for 2022, and we will see how that goes and if I can continue using it throughout 2022. So let's get started. Here is my monthly planner, and I do not have a ton of stickers that I'm going to be using. I'm mainly using this Celebrate Each Day designer sticker book, the monthly collection edition 7 from Erin Condren, and then just some little icon stickers from Planner Kate. These are just little book stickers, which I had been using in my life planner when I was keeping track of books in my life planner the past several months before I decided to get a monthly planner to keep a reading journal in. So I'm going to go through and share what my plan is. It's not all that complicated, but I am really excited about keeping track of my books this way this year. So let's get into it. When you open up the planner, it just has monthly planner and a place to write your name. I don't tend to write my name. I don't have the neatest handwriting, so that's probably part of it. I do write my name in my life planner, but not in most of my monthly planners. I don't take them anywhere, so they just sit at home. I don't really need to. I don't have anything to do with this page, I don't think. The only thing that I was really thinking was to either X out all of the days that I read. That was really my only idea that I had for this spread. I did have a goal in 2021 to read every single day of the year, read fiction every single day. And I did, except I missed a few days in July, around 4th of July, because we had a bunch of family visiting and we were busy. It was my anniversary and my mom's birthday. So I missed a few days, but I did read all of the other days. But most likely I will just not even utilize these pages. I don't really have a need for them. And because I do use so many different planners, I don't necessarily use every single bit of every single planner. So this is one of those spreads that really isn't that necessary for me. This spread, however, I am going to be using, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my stickers January through December using the month stickers from each of these pages, and then I am going to use it to keep track of the books that I read each month. So it's going to be kind of like an overview. I'm going to have fiction, nonfiction, total number of books, then ebooks, audiobooks, and physical books. This past year, the majority of my reading was done on my Kindle. I am a member of Kindle Unlimited, and there are so many books available to read on Kindle Unlimited, which is awesome. I tend to do the bulk of my reading at night after I put my kids to bed, so having the Kindle was just super easy. I don't even have the lights on. I just have my Kindle Paperwhite and I read for several hours each evening. No, not even evening, at night after my kids go to bed. Usually around like 8 to midnight I am reading, and that is how I get through so many books each year. I do listen to audiobooks. I did not always count them as books read, but I do count them now. I do not listen to a ton of audiobooks. Oftentimes they are books that I've really wanted to read, but I haven't had the time to sit down and read something that's really long. For instance, I want to read The Wheel of Time. My brother has raved about that series so many times, and I finally got the audiobook because Rosamund Pike was narrating it, and I really like her as a narrator. She also does Jane Austen She did Pride and Prejudice. I don't know if she's done more than Pride and Prejudice, if she did all of Jane Austen's books, but the Pride and Prejudice that she narrates is really, really good. And then physical books. I have not been reading as many physical books lately. I'm actually trying to pare down my physical books, which is really complicated for me because I do love books. I tend to keep books that are reference books and faith-based books and homeschool books, but I do not keep a lot of fiction books in my home anymore. I tend to read them and then pass them on. I've gotten so many ARCs over the years that I just had so many books. I donated a bunch to the library. But yes, I don't read a ton of physical books now, and I haven't since my kids were really little. It was just really challenging for me to read physical books and hold a child, which I feel like I spent a lot of time doing. So I moved over to like a Kindle many years ago, or reading on my phone, but now I mainly use my Kindle Paperwhite. All right, all of that to say, I'm going to put the label stickers for the months on here, and then I'm just going to write out the few different categories. Again, I don't have super pretty handwriting, and I'm totally okay with it. It's not something that bothers me at all. I used to, when I first started getting into planners again, I was a little disappointed not having really nice handwriting, but I am not sharing this with anybody to share my handwriting. I'm sharing this for function and for how I use these planners. So if you're looking for pretty handwriting, it's not going to be me, but I hope that you get some functionality out of what I'm sharing. Okay, so that is done, and I'm just using a ballpoint pen. I know that a lot of people use nice fancy pens. For this, I just don't feel the need to use a fancy pen for here. I thought about having maybe a special just book writing pen, but I think that a ballpoint is probably my best bet. I do have Sharpie pen, and I think this is like a gel pen, but they tend to smudge for me. Not the Sharpie pen, but the Sharpie, even though this paper is super thick, it still does go through. I do sometimes use a Sharpie on these stickers though, depending on how I'm feeling, but I'm probably just going to use the ballpoint pen because it's easy. So then this next page, I was originally thinking that I would use this for my books read page, but I am actually going to use this page as my books read page. So I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to use this page for. But what I think that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to write the books each month that I'm thinking about reading on this page. I'm not going to label it in any way or anything like that because it is already January right now, and I don't actually have a list of books to read right now, but I was trying to think of something that would keep track of my TBR. I don't really follow a TBR exactly, but sometimes Instagram really has me pegged well for ads, and I get a lot of book recommendation ads, and I tend to write them on my phone, like in the Notes app, and then I don't do anything with it, and then I forget to come back and look at that note to see what books I want to read. So I think I'm going to use this just as a list of books that I want to read at some point. Now, this is not going to be for new releases. This is just going to be books that have already been released already that I can either get from the library or on Kindle Unlimited or through Prime Reading or something like that. It's not going to be new releases. I will show you what I'm doing for the new releases. So there is, obviously it's a monthly planner, so there is a monthly spread in the planner. And my idea is, this is what I was doing in my life planner, is I would put a little sticker on the day of the month that a new book that I want to read is being released. So the thing about my reading recently is that I have mainly been reading a lot of indie authors. And so they do not necessarily have a publish date for their books. They sort of give you like it will hopefully be done by this date, but not necessarily. But in the month that they actually release the book, they do firm it up, and you are able, usually maybe a month or 2 months ahead of time, you're able to see when the book is going to be released. So that is what I plan to use my monthly spreads for. This is for books that are going to be coming out at some point that I want to read. And you know, that's not just indie authors. I read a lot of nonfiction as well, and I have some favorite authors that will randomly release books yearly. People like Sally Clarkson, Julie Bogart has a book coming out, Michael Pollan's books. He just came out with a book last year, I believe, that I have not read, so obviously that's not on this list. But I do have some authors that I follow, and they work with publishers and have like a firmer date for book releases. So that is what I'm going to be doing with these pages. At the moment, I do not have any books that I am thinking about reading that have not come out. So I'm not putting anything in here right now. It's something that I have to sort of look ahead and see what's coming out, what authors have I read recently that have series that may have books coming out in the months ahead. So that's what I use this page for, but I don't fill this out until the actual month because of the indie author book date thing. So sometimes I will write something down and it will be released a couple months ahead of time, or then it gets pushed off several months. So I don't really write anything in here until my planning day, right at the end of the previous month, to set all of my calendars up. This is what I've been doing in my life planner this year, but it was getting to be a little too much in my life planner because I put so much stuff in there already. So that's part of the reason that I am using a monthly planner for a book journal this year. So then we come to this, I guess, dashboard page and another line page. What I'm going to do here is keep track of all of the books that I have read in the month of January. So I will have title, author, date that I read, and then my rating for the month. And then I will be able to transfer these into Goodreads. I'm not as good about putting my books in Goodreads in a timely manner. I tend to batch it, you know, a couple of times a month instead of as soon as I finish a book. I'm trying to be better about it, but I haven't been that great about it. So what I'm going to do is just put a few stickers in here and decorate each of these line pages for each month. It's not all that exciting, but there are enough lines. I don't think that I'm going to go over this line count per month for the books read. It's always possible if I have like a really slow month and I'm able to read a lot of books, or I'm reading a lot of short books, that can happen, or if we're reading a lot of books for our homeschool. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to decorate all of these line pages for January through December. Okay, so I've done all 12 months of my reading log where I will keep track of the title, the author, the date, and the rating, and I probably will designate either E, A, or P for ebook, audiobook, or physical book over here just so I can keep track. For the most part, I know what the books are just by looking at the title, but it probably would be helpful if I just made a little designation so that when I am going in at the end of the month to write out my totals, I can see everything a little bit easier. Now, for this dashboard page, I am not sure what to do with these 3 sections right here. I have thought about doing a tracker to read every day, although, like I said at the beginning, I could use this and just check off each day that I read. So I don't know if I will do that. I have thought about keeping track of the hours spent reading. That is something that I haven't really kept track of, but probably should. I could have some specific reading goals, or if there is something that I really want to work on. For up here, it could be like goals and such, but I honestly am not entirely sure what I will use these three boxes for. But this box, I do know that I'm going to write out release dates of books as they come in for the indie authors that I read, as well as just any books that may be published in this current month. And then when I get to the month, I will take these dates, I will double check them online, and then I will put my sticker in the monthly calendar with the title and the author's name so that I can easily see what books are coming out and sort of plan my reading time around those titles. So that is what I'm going to do next. I'm just going to label these as, I think, new releases. It's not super exciting, but that is what I've used this page for. And actually, that's what I've been doing in my life planner is just writing down. So then I just write the date that it is supposed to be coming out and the title and the author so that I can easily look it up when the month comes, just to double check and make sure that the dates are correct. Often they're not. Usually they are at some point in the month, but usually by the time we get to the month, it has changed a little bit, either earlier or later. Sometimes I have to push it ahead to a different month, but that's why I write it here first before I do it in this calendar. Although I guess I could use a pencil and then it wouldn't really be that big of a deal, but because I also am using these little stickers, I don't know. And I'm actually thinking, this is just an aside, I think I might still continue to put the little sticker in my life planner just to prompt me to come to my reading journal. I don't think that this is something that I'm going to be in every day. I say that I won't be in it every day, but I do feel like anytime I read a book, I want to immediately write down the title so that I'm keeping track of that, because sometimes I will lose track of the books that I've read because I read a lot of books. I know, seems silly, but there it is. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to label these as new releases. So after I write the new releases here, again, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these 3 boxes. If you have ideas, definitely let me know. I might do like my favorite book of the month, my favorite audiobook, if there was something that really stood out to me, maybe a quote or something here, I might do that, or like maybe my top 4 books and then a couple of quotes. I'm just not sure. But this is my plan for right now. So the books read, the new releases, and then you get into the line pages, and there are 8 line pages before you get to this line page, which again is going to be sort of my TBR brain dump type list for the next month. So this won't be full. So there are 8 line pages, and what my plan is for these pages is to have notes and quotes. So My idea this year is to write more book reviews. Last year, my goal was to just read fiction every day and to get back into that joy of reading. Reading is probably my #1 hobby. It's part of why we are literature-based homeschoolers, but I do tend to fall into a fiction rut easily. It is easier for me to be researching books for my kids to read, researching homeschool methods, researching homeschool curriculum, doing self-help or self-improvement or business books or habit books or faith-based nonfiction books. And then I lose my my reading mojo for fiction. So last year I forced myself to read fiction. It wasn't really forcing myself. I loved it. It was just prioritizing it. I prioritized fiction. This year I would like to continue reading fiction, include nonfiction again. I think I maybe only read maybe 15 nonfiction books this year. So it wasn't, that may sound like a lot, but it is not as many nonfiction books as I normally read. So I want to make sure that I am writing notes and quotes. And I don't know how often I will write reviews for my fiction books. I am hoping to write a few sentences so that I can transfer it to Goodreads, and also quotes if I find something interesting. But this is probably more going to be for nonfiction quotes and book reviews or notes that I'm taking when I'm reading nonfiction books, because I do tend to write a lot of notes when I'm reading nonfiction because I'm studying. That's essentially why I'm reading nonfiction. It's because I'm studying. But I do want to also include fiction in this. Do I think the 8 pages will be enough to write all of those reviews and quotes and stuff? I hope so. I am not sure. It will really depend on how detailed I am being and how many books I'm actually reading in a month, and whether or not I find them important enough to write a review for. So a lot of times I just read fiction for the story, and I don't find it necessary to write a review. I just don't. But I do like to read other reviews, so I do want to try and maybe have some helpful notes in here. And if I can do this right after I read a book, I will do a lot better. And actually, one of the things that I'm planning on doing with my kids this second semester, is to do more written narration in the morning instead of just doing narration whenever, because they do a lot of their individual reading at night. And so I figured if we could all get up and have some writing time first thing in the morning to write down what we have been reading about, I think that all of us together, it will be a good practice. So that's what I'm going to be using these pages for. I'm not going to decorate these pages because I fully expect that they will be filled with words. So I will write, the title and any quotes, and then any sort of notes or review for that book here, and then I will just draw a line and then go to the next line for the next book that I read. I'm not keeping track of ratings or anything here. So that is what these pages are going to be for. And then I did not get extra pages in this planner. There is just some stickers at the back and this future planning, which may actually, I don't use this in any of my other planners, but it may actually work in this instance, because a lot of times, especially published authors, they have books that come out like in a year or two, and they can sort of give you an idea of when that is ahead of time. So I could probably use this section, which I don't normally. And then the stickers I may use, I may not. There is a folder in the back, which I will keep these stickers in. And I didn't have any extra notes pages added to this. If I find that I have a lot more notes and quotes to write out, then I may add more pages next year in 2023 if I continue doing this. I don't know. This is the first year that I've kept a physical reading journal. I'm really excited about it. I read so many books in 2021. It was so good for me. I am really pleased with the amount of reading that I did really starting to watch more BookTube and find new interesting authors to read. I have been kind of in a reading slump over the past couple of years because I've been so focused on homeschool and books for my kids and reading to my kids. I'm still doing that, but I have also prioritized my own reading this past year, and I am really excited to continue doing that. So I'm just going to flip through the stickered pages that I did again so that you can see them. Very functional, I think. So again, this is where I'm going to keep track of the total number of books I'm reading each month. Then I will have a running TBR list for books that have already been released in this lined page. Then for my monthly calendar, I will be keeping track of books that are coming out in the current month. I may actually also end up writing, if I finish a book, I might just write the title in here just to see it, just another way to visually represent the amount of reading that I'm doing throughout the year. I like to see that. I think it's a huge accomplishment. So I may also do that as well. But for right now, I plan to just use a little icon stickers, the book icon stickers, and new releases. And then this is going to be a list of my books read with the title, the author, the date that I finished the book, and my rating, which I have not been keeping track of in my life planner, but I do want to also keep track of this. And again, I probably will designate whether it's an ebook, audiobook, or physical book just on the side here, so it makes transferring it into my monthly totals a little bit easier. New releases that are coming out in the month ahead. This is where I will write down the date and the title and the author of the book so that when I get to the month, I can then transfer it into my monthly calendar. So this is all of my setup for my reading journal for 2022. If you use a reading journal, I would love to see how you use one. I know a lot of people will use a bullet journal, and I did think about that, but I didn't want to have to set up all of the pages. Granted, I did do a lot of setup here, but I didn't have to draw out like a calendar spread or any boxes or lines or use a ruler or anything like that, which is definitely helpful. I am really excited about keeping track of my books this year. Again, I am reading and focusing a lot on reading this year fiction, but also nonfiction, and then also concentrating on reviewing the books and taking notes in this book journal of the books that I do read each month. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have questions about anything that I talked about in this video, please leave them in the comments below. I will leave everything that I am using for my book journal in the description box, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks guys, bye.